It's working? Yeah. Okay, good. Quite an introduction. Now, before I get started, I want a lot of you guys to know that whenever anyone starts watching Game of Thrones, a lot of times they complain about the enormous amount of characters on the show. Because there are quite a lot of characters. But I'm telling you guys that if you guys can watch it, then you can actually learn from the characters about your own personal character. Master of Ceremonies, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, good evening.
Good evening.
I chose from Game of Thrones 3 different characters who I feel really taught me a lot about who I am and what I should continue doing with my life. The first character is Samwell Tarly. Samwell Tarly is probably the nicest guy in the entire show. And he is the epitome of what it takes to be a good person. So you could literally shout at him like anything, and he will never even have a bad thought come into his mind about you. How many of you know anybody like that? It's very rare. And another thing about him is that he really loves reading books. He was the son of a king. He's the son in a kingdom, and he was going to be the next king. But instead of wanting this power, instead of wanting to be a great swordsman, he decided to want to educate his mind instead of the sword. And as they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. Another thing, he does not have violence at all in his system. As violent as this show is, and Quentin Tarantino would agree, you know how violent his movies are. He is the least violent. So he teaches people how to not be violent, how to just be a good guy. Now, my favorite moment from him came in season 1, episode 4, when he is right here, and he's forced into a skirmish with these guys to try to practice his sword fighting. But he gets knocked down many times, and he's just trying to waddle his sword around just to try to please the people who force him to do it. And it's just not in his nature. And it goes to show that even though you're born into a particular family who is supposed to carry a reputation of swordmanship, of all these things related to violence, you can still find a way to be okay in being the black sheep of the family, in being different. So it taught me another thing. What can I learn from Samwell Tarly? Read books. Educate yourself. Because as I said, your mind, the pen is mightier than the sword. It can end violence. Rely on nonviolence to carry over into your everyday life. Be the better person. How many of you have a hard time, whenever someone shouts at you, you shout back? Many of us, right?
All of us.
How many of you know people, if you shout at them, they're going to be like, oh, well, I guess I better improve next time. Almost nobody. It's very easy to get angry, but this guy can really teach you a lot of things. It's very enthralling. The second character who taught me a lot of stuff is a fan favorite called Arya Stark. How many of you know about her? Now if you think Samwell Tarly is the black sheep of his family, she is the ultimate black sheep of her family. Because the rest of her family, the Stark family in the north, is either dumb or dead. And if you've seen the show, you really know a lot about her family. My favorite moment of hers came in season 6, episode 8. She has a knack for really having a soft corner for people who are her mentors or people who are her family. And she does want to respect that no matter what. In this episode, her mentor jogger who taught her how to be the quote, badass that she is, taught her all about defending herself, swordsmanship, just being the ultimate lady killer on the show, in a good way, because she kills bad people. But in this episode, she's confronted by her master, who sends out another lady to kill her because she did not respect a duty in the show to kill an innocent lady. And Arya Stark ended up killing that lady and confronting her master about it. Instead of killing the master, she walked away because she knew deep down inside, this guy helped me. This guy really did a lot for me. How many of you have had a mentor in the past where they were so great, but then down the road, they became bad? But in those moments, it's really important to remember the good things that they've done in the past and to not just cover it up with the bad things that they've gone with down the road. So with her sense of family, with her sense of love for her mentors, she really taught me a lot of stuff in the show. She taught me 3 main things. Don't be afraid to do the right thing. She has a strong-willed heart. She's the black sheep of the family. She's not dumb. She's not dead yet, hopefully. And she defends family values. Now, if you really love your family, this is the person for you. And be a badass when needed. The third person who really resembles me is the short guy in the film, Tyrion Lannister. How many of you love this guy? He's the #1 fan favorite on the entire show. Arya is #2. But for this guy, he is short, he's born as a dwarf, and everyone hates him right from the beginning for things that are not his fault. But still, he uses all the resources that he has. And just like Samuel Tarly, he trains this, and he becomes a great leader. And it goes to show that no matter what you're born with, no matter what you have in life, you can still be a leader. You can still lead as long as you use all the resources that you have. My favorite moment from the show came season 2, episode 9, where he's delivering a speech. That's a close-up. That's the far away one. He's delivering a speech before a battle. The king at this time was King Joffrey, who was a horrible person, but also he was kind of a scaredy cat when it came to battle. And he ended up taking the realm. He was the right hand to the king, and he delivered an amazing speech that ended up having the soldiers really gung-ho for the battle, and they ended up winning the battle. So what can I learn from this guy for his great leadership, for his lack of anger, even though he has all the reason to be angry? Use whatever you have to your advantage. Just because something bad happens to you in your life, just because you're at a disadvantage, use all your resources. There's no point in anger. What are you going to get in being angry? He's short, and he's like this. Why'd you do that? Are you going to be the victim, or are you going to lead? You can always find a way to lead, no matter where you are in life. If you feel like you're a woman in a man's world, who cares? I can still lead. Right, women?
Yes.
I'm not a woman, but no matter what, you can lead. Now, I didn't talk about the other characters in the show, but there's a lot to learn from your own personal character that you can learn when dealing with these kinds of people from the show. Unfortunately, Toastmaster Osmar regarded me as Littlefinger in the show, who's one of the worst people.
But he's very smart.
Yes. From this list, how many of you think, who's the worst person?
Ramsey. Simpson.
Yeah.
Littlefinger.
Ramsey.
I would say it's this guy. This guy's beyond horrible. So is this guy. If you guys forgot about him, Craster, who did things that I can't even mention. But the real question I want to give you guys is, when you're confronted with these kinds of people in your life, what is your character going to be? Are you going to use all the resources that you have and not react with anger? Are you going to defend your family values and not forget the good things that people did for you? And are you going to educate your mind and not educate your fists or your sword or anything with anger? Because if you don't have that kind of character, then you're going to end up like these people and end up being killed off the show. That's the decision I leave with you guys. And I hope you watch the last season of Game of Thrones, which starts tomorrow. Back to you, Anthony.